Have you ever looked at your finances and just thought, I make good money, so why do I still feel so stressed about it? You're not alone. It's this weird paradox where you can have a great income, but you're just not building any real lasting wealth. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and look at the hidden psychology that keeps so many of us stuck in that exact cycle. Okay, let's really get into this because this quote just hits the nail on the head, right? We're all taught that if you just hustle a little more, get that next promotion, your financial freedom will just appear. But what we're finding is that it has almost nothing to do with spreadsheets or even how hard you work. The real gap between earning a lot and actually being wealthy, it's all about these hidden scripts, these psychological habits that are running on autopilot in the back of our minds. All right, so first things first, let's put a name to this feeling. This first part is all about defining this trap, this problem that so many high earners are dealing with, whether they realize it or not. And this right here is the heart of the paradox. We see it everywhere, don't we? Professionals pulling in six figures, but their financial foundation is surprisingly shaky. So what's going on? Well, the simple truth is that a high income doesn't automatically make you wealthy. All it does is give you the potential for wealth. And when you don't convert that potential, you fall right into something called the income versus wealth trap. And here it is. This is the big one, the income versus wealth trap. It's that state where your spending just seems to magically rise to meet your income. You get a raise and poof, so do your expenses. This is what stops you from accumulating assets, the stuff that actually grows and builds real wealth. And it leaves you, even with a great salary, basically living paycheck to paycheck, or what you could call functionally middle class. So now that we know what the trap is, the really interesting question is, why do we fall into it so easily? This next section is where we get into the really fascinating stuff, the psychology, the automatic brain patterns that are quietly working against our financial goals. There's a scientific reason we don't even notice our spending going up. It's called hedonic adaptation, or lifestyle creep. Your brain is just incredibly good at getting used to nice things. That bigger apartment, the newer car, the fancier restaurants. After a few months, they don't feel like luxuries anymore, do they? They just feel normal. That becomes your new baseline. And the creep happens without you ever really making a conscious choice. And this comparison just brilliantly lays out one of the biggest mental divides. A lot of middle-class spending is driven by a story. We aren't just buying a thing, we're buying an identity. It's the watch that proves we've made it. It's the neighborhood that fits our new job title. The wealthy, on the other hand, tend to spend by math. They stop and ask a totally different question. Okay, is this purchase going to create future value for me, or is it just a nice story I'm telling myself? It's a subtle but powerful shift. And hey, if you think this is some small niche problem, just look at this number. It's wild. A recent survey found that about a third, 1 out of every 3 Americans earning $250,000 or more are still living paycheck to paycheck. This isn't just about being bad with money. This is proof of just how powerful these invisible psychological forces really are. So, we've talked about the psychology of spending. Now let's flip the coin and talk about the other side of the equation, investing. Because this is where a whole different set of deep-seated fears and instincts kick in and really shape how we approach building wealth. This idea here is absolutely fundamental to understanding your own brain. It's called loss aversion, and the research is crystal clear. The psychological pain of losing, say, $100 feels about twice as strong as the pleasure you get from gaining $100. This makes us way too conservative with our money. We become so focused on not losing a little bit that we end up missing out on huge potential gains over the long run. And here's the thing. The reason that fear is so intense is because our brains are basically running on old software. Our fight or flight response is hardwired for immediate, physical threats, like a saber-toothed tiger jumping out of a bush. That instinct is a horrible guide for modern investing. It sees a dip in the market and just screams, "Danger! Get out! Sell everything!" When the rational, wealth-building move is often to stay calm, or maybe even buy more. So let's look at how this actually plays out in strategy, because this is crucial. The typical middle-class approach driven by that fear is all about predictability. The main asset is usually the family home. It's a symbol of security, sure, but it's also a consumption asset. And where does growth come from? Labor, your salary. The wealthy strategy completely flips that on its head. It strategically uses risk to get higher rewards. The primary assets aren't just a house, but a portfolio of things that generate income. And the source of growth? This is the big one. It's not labor, it's ownership. That's the whole game. Now, that same fear of loss can also lead to another common trap, money hoarding. And listen, this is different from having a smart emergency fund.
We're talking about keeping huge amounts of cash sitting in a savings account doing nothing. It feels safe, like a psychological security blanket, but in reality, it's a huge missed opportunity as inflation just quietly eats away at your money's value year after year. Okay, so we've spent some time diagnosing the problems, the spending traps, the investing fears, but this isn't about doom and gloom. This final section is all about the solution. It's about how you can actively rewrite that internal money script and build a new, intentional structure that actually builds wealth. This right here is the core idea. You cannot beat your own psychology with willpower alone. You can't just try harder. Real, lasting financial freedom doesn't come from a bigger paycheck. It comes from building intentional systems and structures that do the heavy lifting for you, even when you're not paying attention. So, here's the playbook. 4 simple but powerful steps. First, go after your big fixed costs. Your housing, your car, that's where you have the most leverage. Second, automate your investing. Make it the default so it happens without you thinking about it. Third, and this is a big one, deliberately wait to upgrade your lifestyle. Get a raise? Great. Give that new money a job before you give it a shopping list. And finally, the most important mental shift of all, consciously move your focus away from just earning income and toward acquiring ownership. And here's what this all looks like in the real world. It means valuing the boring stuff, like spending an hour on the phone renegotiating your insurance, way more than stressing about buying a latte. It means when you get a bonus, its first destination is your investment account, not a vacation. It means waiting a full year, if ever, before you upgrade your card just because you got a promotion. And it all leads to this ultimate goal: building assets that work for you, creating wealth that grows quietly in the background, totally separate from your 9 to 5. So I'm going to leave you with this one big question to think about. It really cuts through all the noise. Just take an honest look at where your money is going. Is it just buying you a slightly more comfortable version of the same old rat race? Or is it actively, systemically buying you your freedom? Because the answer to that question, well, it changes everything.